I only recently played Gorogoa for the first time, and while I may be slightly late to this party, I felt that there were a surprising abundance of quality, so much so that I wanted to talk about what I loved about this experimental puzzle game. Now, Gorogoa is a short puzzle game, but with a story that's told through an array of differing illustrations that coincide with each other. Now, trying to write that brief synopsis so it sounds logical was actually quite difficult to do. Which kind of helps to explain my first impressions of this game, as it seems slightly illogical from the start. Things don't really click for the player until you kind of have that first Gorogoa moment. What I mean is experiencing Gorogoa's main mechanic of shifting in and out of these illustrations. From this comes new areas with new hints and new interactable points. It's quite spellbinding, to be honest, and just in general really just super clever mechanic to build a puzzle game around. This game is extremely unique, probably one of the most unique I've come across. It showcases true creativity and innovation in how it presents its puzzles. Different layered images connecting with one another feels like this impressive spectacle and is really surreal to just warp in and out of them. Honestly, it never gets boring and it just doesn't diminish in satisfaction, especially as these areas, they just have this incredible amount of detail. It's all hand-drawn and the proof is in the pudding really, as everything on your screen is just so tasteful. You know, despite having no dialogue in this game, Gorogoa manages to create just this beautiful elegance with these stunning environments. It's just really pleasing and gentle to experience, and a large portion of that is absolutely just down to the artistic design. Sadly, I was just about smart enough to beat this game, maybe with a little bit of help. But as for the story, it was difficult for me to get a finite interpretation of the overarching message. But there definitely were some themes that I was picking up on, themes like prophecy and this sense of impending doom. I could be way off with this, but I've got a strong feeling that on another replay, some of the more subtle details will probably become apparent. Maybe because I won't be constantly scratching my head at these puzzles, to be honest. One thing I did find interesting about the mechanics of this game is when the focal point of these illustrations leaves the borders of these 4 tiles that you control. For example, the child that this story is based around will often walk off screen to where you can follow him, then unlocking a new area with new details. I love these moments, not just because you're kind of discovering these new, cool, very nicely drawn environments, but I love these moments because the game, it keeps you looking through this specific lens, that being the 4 tiles, and when your objective leaves that lens for you to follow, there's this very brief moment where expectation is just completely removed from the experience. In that short window, you have a feeling of unknown, where it could be anything past the borders. And I think that's special, I think it's quite refreshing. It keeps the player engagement firmly safe in the developer's hands, where it should be. And the anticipation of where you would end up was just really gripping for me, to say the least. One game that does strike similar to me is Machinarium. Not just because they don't have any dialogue, but because both games prioritize visual storytelling with hand-drawn art, which then creates these brilliant environments, ones that so easily allow the player to lose himself in. Meticulously designed to not only communicate a story, but to also present itself as the acting puzzle as well, ready to be slowly unraveled. I don't know, I think it's kind of genius. It says so much, but with so little. I couldn't help but see this game in newer IPs as well, and the kind of inspiration that Gorogoa may have contributed to those games. Game mechanically speaking, I thought the closest comparison was probably something like Cocoon, that uses aspects like transporting in between levels, worlds within worlds really. Cocoon also synergizes its levels so that they interact with each other in clever ways, much like Gorogoa. And following that, I thought that stylistically in its storytelling, it may have even given some ideas for a game like Blueprints. Tonally, I think the games are quite alike, with its calming nature, but they also implement a story made for unfolding. They're both stories of nuance, designed with strong detail. This game was received extremely well and has a ton of critical acclaim, including a few awards too, which makes perfect sense, of course. But to me, it also just highlights the relevance of a really strong idea. At the very core of this game is a concept so compelling that it's kind of irrefutable for it to be perceived negatively, I think. All it really takes is a strong idea, and this game is the perfect example of how far it can take you and all the acclaim that it can reap. Especially when the idea is also really universal. I believe that anyone can pick up this game and find it quite powerful, you know? That alone would appeal to all markets of people. As all puzzle games should, really. I mean, we as people, we take large satisfaction in solving complex problems. But it's the way in which Gorogoa does it that stands it apart from others. It's like a treasure trove of eureka moments, to be honest. If any of this didn't land, then the music would certainly help as well. The music is really environmental and feels kind of like there is something far bigger at play, which also pairs perfectly with what you're seeing on screen. I can't help but keep going back to words like gentle and elegant when I think about how this game looks and sounds. Now, to quickly sum up my time with Gorogoa and this video as well, I'm kind of fresh off this game, having only played and finished it the same week of recording this. But as time goes on, this game, it just sits stronger and stronger with me, and I just think I was really surprised. It was substantial in ways that I didn't think it would be, albeit with not much knowledge from the outset. I'd highly recommend it for anyone. It was really quite moving, and it was just as unique an experience as you'll find.